Welcome, everybody. I'm here today with a very good special guest. This is the Panther Pawcast, which is really cool. It's a play on words because the Panther Paw and it's podcast. Jeff Vanderbeck here, Appalachian News Express, publisher, vice president. I'm have a great guest today, Mr. David Trimble. He's the superintendent of the independent school system, and I'm joined today because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's so much good things going on at the independent school system, and it's really interesting for us to kind of get things going. And I invited David in to talk to us about some of the major things that are going on within the district. And David, welcome to the first inaugural Panther Podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to get to do this and get to talk about the district and talk about the great things that we get to do here. And thanks for having me.
Well, it's always good to talk about the great things that are going on in the district. Nobody likes to hear the bad things, but you guys are transparent enough to make sure that whatever bad things do happen, you're very good about it. But we're here to talk about the great things because there's a lot of greatness going on at the independent school. I mean, you've got the independent school system, you got the high school and the elementary school. Several you could talk about the amount of children you have there, the students you've got, but it's one of the top ranked schools in the state. How do you do that consistently over and over?
I think it's a special place, and I actually we have this conversation a lot, and just had it with somebody 2 days ago. I think that if you really look at the model, the way this district is set up, that it's a true community school and a school district, and I think that's really important to say because you have to have the input and the involvement of so many different parties. And you talked about transparency and I think you have to be because we're all a team together. Ultimately, these folks in this community, the families in this community drop their kids off to us every morning and with the understanding that they're going to trust that we're going to take care of them. And truly, that's our only passion is to teach them, educate
Sure.
them and provide them with a great environment. And so, we do this as a team. We send them back home, and so they learn from us during the day. They learn at home at night, and collectively, we do what I like to call helping our students find their path to success. I think too often we talk about putting kids on a path to success. That's not what we're trying to do. We want them to find their path, and so we work together. I believe that we have great kids, and they just come in with a value for education. And I think that's significant is when you watch our kids, they work hard and they're very focused on their education. They have a drive to be successful and for their next steps. And now a lot of that too comes from home and the value of education at home. But you bring those kids in and then you put them in front of what I believe is the greatest staff that you can find anywhere. I think that when you look at our faculty and staff in all roles, I'm just really, really proud of them, really proud of the hiring that we've done since we've been here. And of course, we have many that have been here. We were just talking about Miss Atkins, who's been here 33 plus years.
Glenn is the elementary school principal.
Yeah. And so
you mentioned two great things you just mentioned. Learning at home at night and the community involvement. How important is it for, a lot of times, kids, parents, they drop the kids off and then they get home and, oh, did you do your homework? Yeah. Well, they never check it. They never look at it. They never do it. How important is it for developing students to become great leaders or future great prospects in the community for the parents to get involved?
I don't think you can do it at the level of success that this district's been able to do it for 107 now, maybe close to 110 years, I think, years. Without the families being involved in it. It truly, we are a team and we have to be a partnership. And I think that's the success you see, not only from our families, but our community, our community businesses and their involvement. It's really cool to see how passionate people, whether they have children in our district or not, who are in this community are about our district. And you talk to them and they know about it and they ask questions about it.
Sure.
And they sit on the front row of our volleyball games. I've talked to some community members just the other night that they don't have a child in the district, haven't for quite a few years now, but they love this district. And I think that's just a really cool thing about it. It's something that is, we've been here. This is 6 years that my wife and I and little girl now have been here. And we have just gotten to really grow to love this place because we get to do this in what we believe is the perfect model for educating kids in a community environment where everyone buys in, everyone supports kids. And, if a kid has a need, you'd be shocked. You wouldn't be. You've been around here.
Sure, right.
That we aren't shocked that the people in the community make a phone call and all of a sudden they come and they meet that need of that child. Don't ask a lot of questions. They're not worried about, any notoriety.
No judgment, just
We had
just
one
get it.
community member who asked to take a kid with one of the administrators to the back parking lot and hand them something. So they didn't see that happening, and nobody else saw it happening.
Right.
That's the kind of people that we have who just try to remove barriers and help kids. But also when they go into one of our community businesses, they ask them about the shirt that they're wearing or the program they're
Right.
involved in. It just really it truly does impact our kids in such a positive way when they know that everybody in this community is rooting for them. And it's hard because the expectations we have are high. I've said that to a lot of people.
Right.
The expectations here are high, but I don't know that the true strong educators want to do this anywhere else than a place who really just values and loves education like they do here.
And, you mentioned about the kids walking around in their Pikeville shirts and stuff like that. That's an accountability thing because when you see a student or an individual walking around with their Pikeville Panther shirt on, hey, I graduated in whatever year, or how you doing at school, and that's it. It's a lot of community involvement. So we talked earlier before we got online here. How are you doing that without raising taxes? We just had a story in the newspaper about how you guys are kept the compensating rate the same. Everything's good to go. You're not raising taxes. You're not doing the stuff that a lot of districts decide to do because they need more money. How do you do that without raising taxes to the community?
Well, I think we were really we were really smart with our use of our federal funds. We had the influx of federal funds come in during and post COVID, and we used those in a way that we felt was really important to make sure that we weren't over spending at the time, and really in a way that we weren't causing ourselves to overextend. A lot of folks went out and they hired 15, 20 people, and then now what do you do when those funds are gone? We make sure that we have a full staff that meets the needs where we need to meet kids' needs, while we also didn't overextend in that area. And then we did have some temporary roles that came in that we made sure they were done appropriately and with the right folks to be able to move forward with that. That is one of the main ways that we've been successful with that. But I would love to credit our finance director. She's really, really good too. And she and I have a great relationship where we spend a lot of time talking, and she makes sure that we're always on the same page. We never want to have money in the bank as a result of not giving kids what they need. But we also always want to make sure that we're a district that never has to worry about insolvency or anything like that.
Sure.
Because as independents, that sometimes is a conversation people want to have. Well, are you going to be able to survive? Yeah, we're going to be fine. Because we're going to make sure that we're taking care of funds the way we need to. Our hope is that, we can go another 6 years without raising taxes. Sure, property values have a whole lot to do with that. That's, and it goes back to a community that's just amazing. Values. I bought a house here 6 years ago. It wasn't cheap, the values are here because people want to live here. And so as that happens, it drives our values to a place that we aren't in a position to where we need to raise taxes. We're not going to raise taxes. Some folks will tell you you're crazy if you don't raise it 4% every year. We're not going to raise it just to raise it. If we come to our community with a need to raise taxes, it's either because there's been a change in property values and we need to keep our funding at level where it is. We're looking at. I told you we're getting ready to. We're working right now with an architect, just doing what's called K-Fix. It's a district facility evaluation. There's some work that needs to come on our facilities. Our kids deserve to have great facilities. Our staff deserves to have great facilities, and so we're working on that. And so the architect was in town last week and during fall break and did a really good job of doing that part. We'll convene a group together, and as we look forward. There are some ways that if you go to try to make significant improvements or even to build, there may be a day that we come to our community and say, look, there's a nickel tax piece here, but we won't ever do that until we know that it's both absolutely necessary. Until we can put a plan before them. We're never going to try to do that with sleight of hand or to just try to have extra money in our accounts. Our goal is, let's be transparent, let's be honest, let's spend the money the way it needs to be spent, let's put it towards kids the way it needs to be. And we also are able to do that, and we're the 8th highest paying school district in Kentucky, and the highest, if I've done my math correctly, east of Lexington. And that goes a lot of years. It's a lot of credit to
Sure, right.
people who have assured that that's never lagged behind. But we try to continue to do that. We think that, we wish we could pay people more.
Right.
But, we try to definitely always pay a competitive rate, one
To get the best teachers.
us to get the best.
Sure.
And to reward what we believe is great work. And we believe that our folks do such great work and value kids and education. And so that's our goal, is to continue to keep that pay at that level, to make sure it's competitive, and also to be able to give our kids what they need. Are there times that there are things we love to have that we kind of have to say,
Yeah,
to do that?
there's a wish list and there's a needs list and there all that stuff. So you mentioned that you couldn't do it without your finance director. You want to give her a shout out. Who is that person?
Oh yeah, Miss Clark is she's fantastic. Denise Clark. She's been here 20 years now, and she is so intelligent. And the key to it is, you want to have a relationship of trust that if I walk in, there's days I walk in, I'm like, hey, I'd like for us to do this, and we have enough trust that she'll look at me and say, well, that's a terrible idea, and then we can talk about it.
How often are those terrible ideas out? Do you get a lot of that?
I probably have a few of them, but it would be a much more terrible idea if it came through on a PO and I hadn't talked to her about it. So
right, exactly.
but that's why we have those conversations.
Checks and balances, sure.
Yeah.
So it's not like she's going to say, "Oh, we need to get this, that, and the other thing, so we need to raise taxes." But you hit on a great point. If you do decide that you have to raise taxes, and you've done it in the past when you were transparent with your board members. Hey, listen, this is what we need to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is why we're doing it. So if the community has any questions, it's all here. It's all transparent. So that's really a good thing. You mentioned your facility improvements and stuff. How are your board members working with you? I know that there's been some issues in the past with the board members and the media. And when I say the media, I mean me. But your board members and I get along very well right now because I think they're good people who really, really respect the fact that, just like you said, good community, good students, parents are doing their job. I think your board members have really done a fantastic job of putting the children first and doing those kind of things. How do you work with those folks?
Probably the best way I would describe our board is, I don't feel like they're politicians. I feel like they are people who care and want to, and I shouldn't say that.
No, I got you. Yeah.
But that role for them, there are a lot of political roles out there, and then that's the job of it. It's the political role. They don't see this as a political role. They see this as an opportunity to give back in a role for kids. And that's their desire. They are a kids first board. They don't walk around pounding their chest, wielding power of a board member. And I can say that from the guy who works with them more closely than anybody in the background. When I have a conversation with them, the conversation is only ever about kids. And it's only ever about, hey, if this is what's right for the district, let's do it. And
make it right. Sure.
We've developed a really good trust. I try to over communicate to them because I think they deserve that. They're a face that's out there in the community, and it's a tough role because a lot of times you're not here all the time. So they get questions of things that I know that are going on. I'm here every day, and so they have to call and try to get answers. And I try to take some of that off of them and say, hey, just let them give me a call. But I also try to over communicate so they can answer that.
Sure.
But I'll tell you, I think and I sometimes don't say board. I consider them just part of the faculty staff.
Team,
yeah,
right?
Because they're just that way. They don't feel like a separate entity to me. They're not people that I don't every third Tuesday, or we move our meetings around a lot because that's one of the cool things about them is they're so involved in the community. It's hard to get them all at the same time. We got a choir concert this coming Tuesday, and I'm probably going to have to move it. I haven't done that yet. And so, because they're just so busy and they're going to want to be there and watch our kids. And so, that's what's really great about them is they do this for no pay. And they don't really do it for notoriety. I give them a badge that, they were pretty excited. It gets them in the office. Like that was a big deal. Like that's about all I ever asked for.
Aren't they, most of the board members they're all Pikeville High School alumni, right?
Yes, all but one is, and he has two children in the district now,
Right.
and is very engaged and involved, volunteers hundreds of hours a year,
Sure.
working with kids inside the district, and so all the other four are all graduates. When I started, I had four of the board members were parents in the district. I'm down to two now.
Right.
All the rest of them have graduated kids out of the district.
Right, which shows a lot of what's happening with the board, like you said. One of the things that comes up is that, people that don't have children and that go to the school and, like me, my wife and I, we live in the city limits and we get that tax bill every year and it's hard to pay, but you get what you pay for. And I've had this conversation with people. I'm like, listen, you know what? If the district was, out of 122 counties, if they were way down in the dumps, I would moan a little bit more about paying that. But because of the fact that you've got quality teachers, you've got quality educational opportunities, you've got a dual credit program. And I know a lot of kids who are graduating with 12, 14, 18 credits. They've got their first year of college already made and done, paid for because of the dual credit.
Yep.
You got great community involvement, and there's a lot of things going on. And it's not like the district comes to the city and says, "Hey, you need to do this for us, or you need to do that for us." It's more of a collaboration with the university, or a work program with the hospital, or a work study program with Moorhead, or with Big Sandy. So I think there's a lot to be said about that, and I think that's really a feather in the district's cap. And in your cap personally, because you've only been here 6 years, and what you've done in the 6 years you've been here have taken things to a level that a lot of people were not sure if they couldn't put you there. So what keeps you going to make sure that you strive to be the best, you personally, not the district, but you personally? When David Trimble wakes up in the morning, puts his feet on the floor, puts his pants on, what makes you go and what keeps you ticking every day?
Oh, that's a good question. These kids and the staff, this Board of Education put a lot of trust in me. Back in 2020, it was May of 2020. I had a little girl that was a month old, and it was a big move for us. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't actually seek this job because I felt like I was a little bit young. And I was inexperienced. I didn't have any experience. And through some conversations and throughout the process, my name came up to some folks. And that's how we ended up in a room and interviewed. And I think there were folks that were like, they brought this 37-year-old kid in here to run one of the greatest school districts, if not the greatest school district, in my opinion, in Kentucky. And what have they done? And that was a humbling thing for me, because there were, I've said before, there were 3 jobs I would have taken at that age.
Sure.
And
What was that motivation for you to say, you know what, I'm going to prove every one of my naysayers wrong?
I think it's the faith that people put in me. It's because that board was looking out for kids and adults, and I hope that our kids and our adults know how much I love and care about them. That's what this job to me is all about. I think that if and sometimes they get mad at me, and that's part of it. It's you're the boss in this place. You understand? Like, there's going to be days people going to get a little upset with you, and that's okay. But I hope that ultimately they know that every day I walk in, my number one goal is that I do my part in providing them the atmosphere and the opportunity to go be great, because I think we have all the pieces in place every day to be the greatest that you can possibly see. But I have a job to make sure that I lead in a way that I trust the people in each of those roles to let them be great, not get in the way, not micromanage it. I feel like I used to be a little bit of a micromanager till I got in this job, and I've tried to learn, look, I look around the room and I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Don't have to be. I just have to be smart enough to make sure that I'm there to support the work that takes place. I lead at the times I need to lead, and I step back and let people do their job. And I think that's, what drives me every day is that this is a tradition-rich, outstanding, and wonderful district. And every one of those kids, I say this a lot. Addison, my little girl's name's Addison. She's 5. And I probably didn't understand this career 6 years ago like I do now.
Sure.
And
in 3 years from now, you'll understand it
even more.
So
And I think that's for me the thing. Like every time that one of these parents hand a kid over to us, it's like they're handing Addison to me.
Sure.
And I want them to be treated like every one of them are
like your kid.
Addison for sure. And I think that we I think we do a really good job of that. And I'm really proud of what the people who make up this district do. And I'm really proud to get to do it here.
Sure.
I just my wife and I have had this conversation a few times, and it would be hard to do this any other place. It would be hard to see any other place
because you've got so much support for your, and so
great.
One of the things that's really cool about you is you know, and I'm gonna right up front. Listen, I questioned your ability when you first came here, and you and I had exit.
It's okay.
Yeah, you got the tech side, but the fact that you have propelled, and the fact that you said, "Listen, I'm going to prove everybody wrong," and I was doubting the hire, not doubting your ability. But you've proven that you can do this job, and you're doing it very well and excelling. So not only is that great, but I'm proud of you personally because you've done a great job.
Appreciate that.
So, but I see you out on the sidelines at the football games, the basketball games, the volleyball games. Kids that graduated before you're there are coming up and shaking your hand. So that's a testament of what you've done. So that's
Thank
good.
you. I appreciate
Well, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up our first Panther Pawcast with Mr. David Trimble. We hope to have more guests coming real soon. I hope to get Mr. Blackburn, Mrs. Atkins, maybe Coach Mack, the bus drivers, you know, everybody from the lunch people to, you know, anybody that is in there to talk how great the district is and what they do. And on behalf of Pikeville Panthers, Pikeville Independent School, as David Trimble just said, go be great, Pikeville Panthers.
That's right.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you having me.
No problem.